Okay, well.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our September Paso Transportation Authority Board meeting. We're going to welcome a few special guests today, but first I wanted to welcome a very special guest, Mr. Alfredo Gonzalez from TxDOT. Thank you for being with us today. We'll go ahead and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any public comment?
We did not have anyone sign up for public comment.
Move on to our presentations. It is my honor to begin the meeting with our new tradition of honoring Employee of the Month from TransDev. This month, our honored employee is Miss Jocelyn Rubira. Oh yeah, go ahead.
And just so everyone's aware, Miss Riviera, she's been employed with First Transit and TransDev for 2 years. She has had no preventable accidents. She's very reliable and willing to work extra. And when she was nominated, she was told that she was a perfect example of a team player. When she has trouble with rude or disruptive passengers, she stays calm, follows protocol, stops the bus in a safe place, and asks for dispatch to call police. There's been no complaints on Jocelyn and her supervisors. And many people say that they wish they had more employees that were like Jocelyn. So she's the type of employee that makes everyone look good. So we really thank you for the services you provide to you guys.
A certificate for you, Mr. Villa. I'll meet you up there.
Maybe right here.
Yes.
And thank you for all the work you do.
Okay, that's it.
On
our social media.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on our agenda. Have we been able to get?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. We're really excited to welcome a new member to our board, and we had this discussion last month about amending our bylaws to allow an elected representative from the town of Clint to serve on EPAT's board. So thank you, board, for allowing for that exception for the town of Clint. So I would really like to welcome Mr. Council Member Daniel Vallejo to the EPAT's board. Welcome, Mr. Vallejo.
And Council Member, would you be able to put your camera on and audio so we can see you?
Thank you very much.
Happy to have you here. In addition to Councilmember Vallejo, we also amended our bylaws to have included the City of Socorro as an ex officio member. So I'd like to welcome their representative to EPATS today, Ms. Alejandra Valadez. I think she's online.
She is.
Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Alejandra Valadez, City Development Director for the City of Socorro. And thank you all for the invitation, and we're happy to be part of this group. And thank you.
We're very happy to have you here. Please chime in if you have any questions throughout the meeting. Hi. Okay. So, great. We have our new board members. Our third presentation, I'll let Mr. Ando welcome our speaker.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairman, Madam Chairwoman, and members of the board. El Paso County was recently a recipient of the 2025 Achievement Awards from the National Association of Counties, and basically in the transportation category. And we were part of that award for the formation and the implementation of the El Paso Transportation Authority. So, pardon me, your name? Yeah, sorry.
Lorena Rodriguez.
Lorena from the County Administrator's Office is here to basically present that award to the ETA board.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lorena Rodriguez. I am the Chief Aide for the County Administration Department. Just wanted to give you a little bit of background. So the National Association of Counties, what they like to do is highlight counties' innovative ideas. So they have different categories that we can submit program ideas. And again, this is a non-competitive nomination because it's not really to say who's the best county that does a program, but it's also to allow counties to get those programs to bring it back to their community and make a difference. So in the transportation category, county administration submitted the El Paso Transportation Authority, and it was a total of 176 nominations from counties across the United States. So I just wanted to present the El Paso Transportation Authority with a certificate for receiving the Achievement Award.
Thank you very much. It is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right, our next agenda item, Commissioner Miller, will be the consent agenda item that is comprised of items 5A through 5F. Are there any agenda items that any of the members would like to pull and move into regular agenda?
Everybody had a chance to review? If so, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve.
Okay, so I have a motion from Commissioner Butler and a second from Mr. Rubio. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. We'll go ahead and move on to the regular agenda. And this will be 6A. This is discussion with Texas Department of Transportation about the Public Transportation Division. And we will receive information from Mr. Alfredo Gonzalez, the lead public transportation coordinator from Texas.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for extending the invitation to me to participate. I know it's been available to me, but my schedule has just been one that I could not attend. Been on board with all of the initiatives that El Paso County has since the last 5 or so years, 6 years. I'm Alfredo Gonzalez. I'm the lead public transportation coordinator for the West region. Myself and 4 of my team members cover about 52% of the state. Our other 14 counterparts cover the other half. So we're stretched pretty thin. Got projects all over the place. And El Paso is kind of a standout, and more so in the last recent years. TxDOT's role is really grant management and oversight. And so as a recipient of grant funds, you fall under the rules and regulations of FTA and also the ones that the state has in place and the division. So we've been working together on a number of things, and the exciting thing about it is that the evolution of El Paso County has been one of stark contrast compared to other rural transit. And I'll cover a little bit about that a little later. Grants that we currently manage predominantly is the 5311, the Rural Public Transportation Grant. That's the big cheese of all your grants, right? You also have 5339, which are rural discretionary funds. don't have any 5310, which is elderly and disabled persons with disabilities. That's funding for the very specific type projects. In my conversations with John, those are some of the things we'll be looking at in the future for El Paso County. Also 5304 funds, planning funds that may help in further planning some of these new changes and initiatives that we start looking at changing or redesignating the subrecipient status from El Paso County to ETA. To give you a little bit about a little of the history in working with El Paso County, I assumed the El Paso County grants in late 2017. My previous team member retired, and so I just kind of absorbed him into my agencies that I have oversight of. In 2017, El Paso County had about $850,000 in public transportation funds, grants. Okay, so by contrast, last year we were very close to 24 million. So let that sink a little bit. From 2017 to 24, I think this year we're hovering around 20, 21 million, and it's significant. And the eyes of the division are in El Paso County. The transitioning over to ETA, subrecipient status, has been on the radar for, I think, about 2 weeks. I mean, 2 years. So we kind of been looking at now that with John on board, I think we're going to start seeing some traction on that moving forward. It's going to be pretty significant. A lot of work to be done, a lot of policies and procedures that we have to go through and review and make sure that we're all in compliance. John and I have been closely working together on those items. It's going to be part of our standing agenda item every 2 weeks to see how progress is coming. And also to give us a heads up as much as we can so we can get things done on our end as quickly as we can to make things happen when you need them to. So one of the things that I've asked John to look forward to is maybe the 5310 grant and looking towards projects that won't be available for about 2 years again, but it's for a 2-year period. So I think this would be significant for El Paso County and especially its constituents. So 5339, the big one out there, I'll talk about that a little bit and you're probably familiar. Mostly 5339 is for vehicles, equipment. We've been working on amendments and things like that to get the ETA staff some of their resources that they need to fulfill their jobs. And also for equipment in the buses is pretty significant. I think you have more 5339 grants than any of my other providers in the West region. Typically, Rural Transit District may have 5 to 6 grants. El Paso, I think our count was how much yesterday? 16 grants. Last year was 22 grants. So it's a lot of moving parts. Takes an awful lot of work to keep all those things moving in the right direction and in a positive direction. The big challenge before us will be, of course, the transitioning. And that's what John is here for. And that's a big load you're taking on and looking forward to that change. Also, the fixed route services and any adaptation to that that you may need assistance with, that's what we're here. A big part of my job is technical assistance. So it's about communication, open, frequent, especially here, frequent communication and anticipation of any significant issues because we've got a lot of things going on. And that's, as long as we can keep moving forward, I think we've been very successful at doing that. So I'll give you a little bit about the history. That's pretty significant change. Presently, with all that's been going on in the last since 2017 in my monitoring, and the increase in funding has been so significant that for a team of 3 is a tremendous workload. Tremendous. I have an agency that's the largest rural transit district, West Texas Opportunities, and they run about half as much in funding and grants, but they have a team of people. They have had no findings. They have not had no findings since I think I became a public transportation coordinator in 2000, but they've had a team that support. Since I took over El Paso County with this amount of workload, tremendous amount, there have been no findings with the staff and the administration of these projects. And when it comes to procurement, capital, and then the operating, it's a tremendous workload. So my hat is off to the team. And now with John on board and everything moving forward, it's going to be a big relief. And I think a tremendous support to the system. The future, of course, the transition, the big one out there that I'm really hopeful for El Paso County is the 5339 capital project for the facility. Talking about $16 million. The only project in the state of Texas to be submitted and signed for by the government. Because of the effort put forward by this team that you have in place, all the work that they've done to get us to a point that it was the only one at the ready to submit. So the strategy there is the state submitted a request for 10 million and the state itself will match 6 million. Now on that 10 million, that requires capital match 20%. The state is again willing to submit, provide the match by way of TDCs, transportation development credits, no cost for a $16 million project to Paso County. Biggest thing, one attractive thing about that project is the fact that El Paso County has contributed, what, 1.5 million, John, is that it? Towards land acquisition. So when you put it on paper, you have federal, state, transportation development credits, and a local commitment, which is significant. So it's very attractive. And so we're very hopeful. This is a red state, and that's the only project signed over and presented and introduced by the governor. So we're hopeful that it will be successful. Typically, those projects are announced in September. The TA has been burdened with their workload, and so we're kind of hopeful that very soon we'll get some news. So fingers crossed, right? Commissioner Butler, you mentioned something interesting yesterday, commuting from El Paso to Midland, Odessa. That's where my office is in Odessa. You have a lot of people from El Paso that commute to work and back. So I mentioned that to John, to let's put that on our radar. Look at maybe innovative things like intercity bus, transportation of services for those needs, right? So that's going to be part of our discussions moving forward. Probably going to look at maybe kicking off a study. You know, see that would be very helpful.
Sorry, John, I didn't mean to.
I'm glad. I like ideas like
Okay.
Yeah. It's. I think it's a great idea because I have family with oil field businesses and friends, and a lot of folks from here do work over there, and so it could be something very worthy to look into and hopefully get something done. Currently, the 5-year plan, regional plan, is being spearheaded by Project Amistad. They are the lead entity for the region. This is going to be very important for the county and for any other service provider out there. Part of this regional planning is outreach, identifying gaps and needs of service, transportation services, interconnectivity, collaboration, coordination, all of those things. This is going to be very important for El Paso County ETA to participate in this and identify some of these gaps that you all think need to be addressed. And the reason for that, for future funding, any consideration to be given to an application in the future must be addressed in the regional plan. So if there's a specific gap in service or need, if it's identified in there, that's what we're looking for. It gets so specific that they in these applications, it's requested that they cite the exact page number and paragraph where it's identified in your regional plan. So that's going to be very important. And that's a huge role that Project Amistad is taking on. They've done a fantastic job past years. And so I look forward to that participation and coordination. Other than that, I think what we ought to look at in some of these things that we've talked about is planning and studies for any of these, especially the intercity bus. That would be something very interesting. We do have a call coming up in October. It's called the coordinated calls, discretionary funds. We've also been talking about that. This is an opportunity for El Paso County to again apply for funding for capital needs or other needs planning, things of that nature. So I'll send you some guidance. That's part of the reason that El Paso County has been successful in previous calls and why they've received 5339 funding. Lastly, planning, the lead role, this board is really evolving into the decision-making body, right, for public transportation or transit services and needs. So in the future, another consideration may be looking at becoming that lead role in planning. So this is something that I would recommend you coordinate through Project Amistad, just begin those kind of discussions, right? I've had quite a experience with Project Amistad. They've been very successful, provide a great field service to El Paso, and my hat is off to them as well. Lastly, I mentioned the workload and the successes, and the successes of doing this, completing this tremendous workload with no findings. And I can't help but really formally recognize three people that have helped us get this all done. And that's Reina Mayorga, Jesus Serna, and Bianca Venezuela. I would ask a round of applause for these folks. So I think that's it. If there's any questions, I'm open to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. We did have the opportunity to meet yesterday, and I want to thank you for recognizing the ETA team and Bianca from our auditors who helped to make sure that we're full compliance with our many grants. I think it's also important to recognize that this team of three, held ETA up in maybe uncertain times and rough waters over the last few years, especially during these transitions and transition in leadership, especially. So thank you very much, and thank you for your role in supporting everything that we do here in El Paso County, and for your active role, because I know that you've been very, very active in making sure that wherever we can we succeed. So thank you very much for your support. Any questions for Mr. Gonzalez?
A few. It was eye-opening to see how many grants you had open at any given time. I had no idea. 18. You have 18 on the spreadsheet. And it looks like most of these are close to expiring or already have. So you mentioned that at the beginning, the goal was to transition the subrecipient from the county over to ETA. So do you have like a timeline at what point new grants would be solely under ETA instead of, because I'm assuming there's more in the works that don't show up here yet.
Yeah.
That are already in counties. So will it just be for new ones or existing ones, or how do you see that transition playing out?
John and I just talked about that and coming up with, they've got a list of things, guidance, policies, procedures that have to be in place before even considering subrecipient redesignation. We're developing a schedule, or John's going to develop a schedule. We'll talk about it, but that's going to help us set a timeline. And the division is well aware of this transition, has been aware for 2 years. So now it's like really getting traction. So John's got an aggressive schedule. Is it doable? I think so, possibly, if these certain things get accomplished in a certain amount of time. So you are going to be getting new grants, and some will fall off, some will come on. So we're going to look very closely at hopefully a lot of these expire December 2025. And
25, and then a few expire 20. I think we have 1 or 2 26, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
And so your new ones take effect 2026. And if John's schedule holds, then transition may occur around that time, which would facilitate the state really kind of transitioning those grant balances over to ETA.
We hopefully envision, as you know, as we're working with Sun Metro on the urban grants designation as well, that whatever county grants are remaining, our goal is to hopefully have those expire by and be completed by August 31st of 26 to allow ETA to be able to start fresh with new grants from the little side from TxDOT, September 1 of 27, and then through FTA with Sun Metro's approval, October 1 of 26.
Yeah, I didn't mention that. That's a whole different thing, the 5307. So we've done this kind of thing before. I think John's got a good game plan. He's got it on developing that schedule. That's going to be very helpful. I'm also drawing on the expertise of other team members that have done this. They'll probably be involved in some way to facilitate. So we can make that happen. I don't see an issue, problem. Everything should have to be completed. There is one thing that the board has to demonstrate, and that's financial responsibility. I don't think that's going to be an issue. That's one big thing that the division looks like. That won't be an issue. And so it's just a matter of getting these other things completed, getting ready for that shit.
And I'll just add that I think John has had that checklist in mind since right here. So all of these new administrative things that we see on the agenda, including like today, the budget that, for the first time, those are all steps towards the requirements that TxDOT has for us.
I think some of those even go into play with your service, with Sun Metro's service expansion policy that we'll have to demonstrate to you. That will be basically shared between the two entities as we pursue this path.
Do you have other questions? Sure, you said you had a lot.
Did I answer them?
I think the answer was comprehensive.
Okay.
Put it that way.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, can we give Mr. Gonzalez a round of applause?
We drove all the way from Odessa, right?
Yeah.
That's a hike.
We had a bus.
I would ride that bus. I can guarantee it.
Maybe a streetcar.
No. I'll have to tell you about our streetcar experience. I took the staff out.
Then we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 6B. This is to discuss and take appropriate action on the executive director's decision not to proceed with entering into a contract for RFP 25-004 regarding ADA eligibility assessments presented by Mr. Andu.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, and members of the board. Just so he has a brief background, on April 28 of 25, the El Paso County Commissioners Court awarded an RFP to MTM Transit, and their goal was to provide ADA eligibility assessments on behalf of the transit system. And based on my review of their best and final offer, the request for proposals that was put out, the size and the scope, I felt that the costs that we would be proposed to be paying MTM was a bit excessive for a transit system our size. And to give you a comparison, a contrast, MTM also does the same type of work for the San Joaquin Regional Transit District in Stockton, California, and they support 6 other transit agencies, including, as you know, one of them that I work part-time for, City of Escalon, City of Manteca, City of Tracy, City of Lodi, City of Lathrop. And basically the cost that RTD is paying MTM is equal to the cost that we would be paying to MTM. And our system is much smaller than what they're doing for RTD and those 6 other transit agencies. So I basically advised the Commissioner's Court, as well as in cooperation with purchasing and county attorney, that I don't believe it's in our best interest to enter into that agreement. We should rescope the work if we want to continue to have this done outside of TransDev. But until then, we would have TransDev as our current operator, continue to provide the paratransit eligibilities, and county and EPAT staff will monitor service quality and handle appeals. If we were to re-procure this service, based on my independent cost estimate, talking to similar size systems that have in-person assessments, I believe that this could be done for $200,000 a year or less. And also, I have started discussions with Sun Metro about the possibility that we can partner on this. While they're not prepared to take us on at this time, as they go through their processes with ADA paratransit in the future, there could be a potential that we both can work together and have a seamless ADA paratransit eligibility process, since we both already have an interlocal agreement for paratransit services. On page, let's see, 57 of the packet, you'll see the cost table that we would have paid MTM had we entered into this contract. And I'm just asking the board for consideration to support my decision in not pursuing with this contract at this time. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you for double checking those numbers for us. The funding, appreciate it. Comments or questions?
Yeah, I had a question. And speaking of John, we have a similar challenge. Our paratransit assessments are actually conducted by our contractor. So, and they have a part-time person, and it's an extra duty for them, and they weren't able to take on additional load, which is why we couldn't offer it at this time. I was curious, as a county entity, that perhaps UMC might have these type of services that could easily be done through an interlocal, since they have the medical expertise and things like that to conduct physical therapy, whether it's at no cost or a minimal cost, that might be, didn't know if that was an option.
I think it's a valid option, because I know you suggested that. To be honest, I've been trying to track down the right person at UMC to help you with this, and it's been a struggle, to be honest.
You're bureaucratic.
Okay. You got me there? Oh, good. Okay.
UMC must outsource that, because I don't know if they their transit services for their patients.
Well, I'm saying more the assessments, and maybe some of the, let's say,
for the population.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
So they'd be reviewing the application and the eligibility part, not providing the service. And they should have that expertise with their physical therapy interns and programs and all that stuff. So.
Definitely get with Joel.
And if you can get that, don't partner with you.
I think we can get it. Good idea.
Question. So that would be an RFP that would be released, a new RFP released.
If we decide to go to the private sector, yes. If we work with UMC, no, because we could do an interlocal since they're also a governmental entity. And quite frankly, if we can get UMC, that would be highly ideal because they already have the expertise. They understand mobility considerations for those that who truly may need the paratransit service.
It'd be much faster. Just get it done.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, so I have how would the motion, how would you like to make the motion?
Yes, motion to,
Resi teacher.
I said support the executive director's decision to not proceed with entering into a contract for RFP 25-004 regarding ADA eligibility assessments.
And I'm sorry, who was the second? Andrea, okay, Ms. Perea, okay. All right, so we have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
There. Okay, motion will carry. And I apologize, we did check this presentation, but I don't know why it's not allowing us to see the whole view. So I apologize for that. Councilman Vallejo, for some reason, it's not showing up your camera. So what we'll do is we won't be able to count your vote. We do have quorum here, but if we can't see your camera, we will not count that as a vote, but we know that you're here.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to agenda item 6C. This is to approve and authorize the executive director to remove restrictions regarding bus stops within the city of Socorro and to execute an interlocal agreement with the city of Socorro for fixed route and complementary paratransit services within their jurisdictional boundaries effective on Tuesday, October 1, 2025, subject to legal review and approval. Ms. Randa?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board. As you're aware, since July of 2025, ETA fixed routes have not been stopping within the city of Socorro due to previous decisions made regarding funding and participating in ETA. However, due to 3 fixed routes, routes 30, 40, and 50 traveling through Socorro city limits, absent a legal restriction by state law or an action barring ETA from providing service within the city limits of Socorro, we're still required to provide complimentary paratransit services to, within, and from Socorro. It should be noted that with the restrictions in place, when you look at ETA's fixed route ridership on routes 40 and 50, it had declined about 15%. Also, concerns have been expressed by member agencies, San Elizario and Horizon City, about the ability of their residents being able to access quality of life opportunities in Socorro and vice versa. As you know, we're formed as a regional transit system operating outside of the boundaries of the city of El Paso, and per our mission statements to facilitate the need of allowing regional mobility. The current restrictions in place is impacting ridership, creating hardship for those that do not have access to an automobile, and creating concern for our current member agencies. Recently, I've reached out per board direction, and we've started to renew a relationship with Socorro. So far, the conversations has been positive. Their city manager has agreed to contribute $5,000 to have access to the regional public transit system. While the city still continues to operate their microtransit service for local trips within Socorro and to the Sun Metro's Mission Valley Transit Center, I believe that removing these restrictions off of the ETA fixed routes will still help facilitate regional travel, renew our relationship with the city of Socorro, and ensure access for residents, visitors of Horizon City, Clint, and San Elizario to have access to quality of life opportunities in Socorro. Socorro and ETA have agreed to continue conversations about the potential of ETA to operate their microtransit system in the future and facilitate full membership of the city into ETA in the near future. So my recommendation is asking that the board authorize the removal of the restrictions and authorize me to execute an interlocal agreement with the city of Socorro for fiscal year 2026. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Rando. Thank you for all of your efforts to reach out to the city of Socorro to get them re-engaged. Do the city of Horizon or Clint or Sanelli have any input on this?
I know we support this. So at the end of the day, we all just want one regional. That's
right. I think those routes are kind of critical for those folks to keep them. So this is great.
Agreed.
Councilman Vallejo, do you have any questions or comments on this item?
No, I think we agree with what was stated there. The more availability from all services from all areas is good for everybody.
Positive updates then. Hopefully more to come. I'll make a motion to approve.
Just a comment real quickly, for those needs, specific needs, for any of the municipalities, very important to identify them in the regional plan. So keep that in mind, because that would help with any future, funding prospects.
Yeah, ask if Socorro.
Ms. Valadez, do you have any comments?
No comments, just we're excited to continue the conversations with you all, with Mr. Ando, and we're happy to gain that access and continue our work together.
Very much. I made a motion. Did somebody second?
Second.
Okay.
So have a motion for Commissioner Butler, second for Mr. Bishop. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to item 60. This is to authorize the implementation of a new South County microtransit service using paratransit revenue vehicle service hours to deliver the service. This will be presented by Mr. Ando as well.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board. The city of San Elizario has expressed concern about lack of an accessible door-to-door option for its residents and visitors to travel within San Elizario as well as to and from Socorro. Recently, they expressed interest in working with the city of Socorro to fund microtransit services to the extent that their city council did authorize an interlocal agreement between the two parties. My staff report finished. I apologize. Basically, the city of Socorro, ETA, and city of San Elizario met together to talk about the needs and the desires for how to address mobility options between the city of San Elizario and into the city of Socorro, as well as accessing medical appointments into the city of El Paso. And as I presented to the working group when we had the meeting, is that utilizing our paratransit revenue vehicle service hours, we in essence could create a pilot microtransit service for the city of San Elizario that would basically provide door-to-door service within their city. We would also extend that to the town of Clint, and would also provide trips to and from the city of Socorro, as well as the Mission Valley Transit Center. This would help provide more mobility options in those two jurisdictions, especially since pedestrian access is very limited when it comes to accessing ETA services. And we can basically utilize underutilized paratransit service hours to help provide this service. We envision that it would operate the same service hours as ETA access. The service will be available basically on a door-to-door basis. Passengers can make a reservation by calling ETA access, and then we would pick up passengers within 30 minutes of ride request. Working with TransDev and ETA staff, we are also evaluating a new paratransit software to replace Trapeze. And we're also doing that in concert with county purchasing to purchase off the 791 cooperative, which the county is working on participating, and I believe that'll be before the commissioner's court within in the next couple of meetings. So once we have that new scheduling software, it'll provide another enhancement towards this microtransit service as another option for people to access the service. Working with staff, we're proposing to call this service ETA Andale, thank you. which basically means go, 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 which microtransit service basically does just that. Page 70 gives you an idea of the vehicle that we would utilize. We propose that we would charge the same fare as ETA fixed route, since this would be an extension of the fixed route system. Also on page 71, or 70, excuse me, is basically the service area, which would be the entire city limits of San Elizario, the entire town limits of Clint, as well as the entire city limits of the city of Socorro, as well as the Mission Valley Transit Center. I'm requesting the board's authorization to implement this service, working with our transit operations contractor and the city of San Elizario and the town of Clint and the city of Socorro. And I'm happy to answer any questions about this proposal if there are any.
So I have a quick question. So there are additional funding opportunities that we can go after to, I guess, assist with?
So right now, since it's already budgeted in the existing budget and financial plan, we're just basically utilizing hours of paratransit that haven't been used. But in the future, yes, it is our desire to pursue 5310 funding through the El Paso Metropolitan Planning Organization, as well as 5310 funding through TxDOT on the rural side. We'll also look at opportunities through the 5307 funding that will be getting through Sun Metro. And then FTA every so often does these shared mobility sandboxes and discretionary grants for transit technology-based projects. So we can definitely pursue those fund sources as well. We also believe that if this pilot works fairly well in the South County, other jurisdictions such as Horizon City, Benton, Anthony, we can potentially do on-delay services in those areas as well.
Thank you.
And unincorporated areas.
And unincorporated. I don't want to forget about that. Yes. And as you know, CTI did a study or is working on a study that was presented to the board last month that talked about general public dial-a-ride services, commingling those with ADA paratransit. So that's another avenue once that study is complete on how we can do more on-delay services throughout the service area.
Was it communicated to San Elizario that the cost for this will probably increase next year?
Has been communicated to the city. I've also stressed that it is staff's desire to strive to try to keep the member contributions at the levels that we're at today, plus consumer price index, and pursue other revenue streams to help not cause significant increases in member contributions to the member agencies. And some of those revenue strategies we'll be talking through in a strategic planning session. That could include like advertising on buses, use of transportation development credits, which are also called toll credits, in conjunction with TxDOT and working with the FTA. In-kind contributions are some examples. Miscellaneous partnerships as other ways of generating revenue. Because I believe that as I've heard from the last meeting, the member agencies do not want to see a significant increase in their contributions, especially as budgets are getting tight.
Are the number of trips available limited to the number of surplus or extra hours you have for paratransit? Are they limited? Are they capped?
Not necessarily capped, because we can't cap paratransit trips, but we can cap on-delay trips. So what we're doing.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
because you're providing on-delay trips from the
paratransit. So what we're basically doing is we're commingling the trips. So what's going to happen is that there may be an access passenger as well as an on-delay passenger on the same vehicle going to close to or same destination points. But the ADA paratransit passengers will always get first priority. So that we don't have any.
So that's good because you're providing that extra trip at no extra cost to ETA.
That is correct.
And how does the fare of your paratransit compare to your fixed route?
So the fare of paratransit is, I believe, $250 within the 3/4 mile radius of an ETA route and $5 into the city of El Paso.
And your fixed route's $1.50?
$1.50, yes. We will be bringing before the board at a later meeting a revised fare policy. As we pursue 5307 funds, we have to have half fares for seniors, persons with disabilities, and Medicare card holders with a fixed route system. So I'll be proposing that this board consider adopting the Sun Metro's fare policy to have that seamless fare structure between the two transit systems. That includes students and veterans. That includes students and veterans as well, yes.
And the fares are one way.
And the fares are one way, yes.
And how do those fares compare to City Hall?
To Sun Metro?
Yeah.
So right now we just have one fare and it's just $1.50 for everybody. So in order for us to use the 5307 funds, we have to have a half fare for seniors, persons with disabilities, and Medicare card holders, which is 75 cents on the Sun Metro system. So in essence, we'd be adding that plus what other fare categories that Sun Metro has, such as veterans and students, to keep the fare structure seamless. It may also allow in the future for a regional fare card that could be utilized on both transit systems as well.
It's 50 cents per day.
50 cents?
50 cents.
Oh, you're 50 cents. My apologies. I put some people they keep like 30.
We raise it from 25 cents at great protest.
I don't want to create any controversy.
Very exciting. I have a feeling this is going to be very, very popular with our county residents.
We're hoping for, yes. Staff will be, should the board approve this, staff will work with City of San Elizario, City of Socorro, and Town of Clint on how we can promote the services and ensure seamless coordination.
And thank you to Transit for working with us.
Question, but so the data that you said there was data already available, that's through TTI.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a presentation last month.
Yes.
On our options for down to right.
Correct. And they just completed their public engagement piece. So we'll come back before the board either at the next meeting or the November meeting with the final results of that study and then a recommendation for how to pursue future general public dial-a-ride services throughout our service area. So this pilot will be a test case to help set direction and guidance on how we can do this elsewhere.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
And second for Mr. Rubio. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. We'll take us to 6E. This is to discuss and provide direction to staff regarding legal services with El Paso County and Kemp Smith. Mr. Andrew?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. As you're aware, at the January 2023 Board of Directors meeting, the Board of Directors selected Kemp Smith as part of a legal services procurement for legal representation of ETA. That representation continued until February of 2025, when the board opted to enter into an interlocal agreement with El Paso County for legal services. However, Kemp Smith was still retained, and they were last used primarily for the employment agreement negotiations for the current executive director. Over the last 2 months, with staff serving as the El Paso County Transit Operations Department and ETA, as well as the upcoming transitions of operations from El Paso County to ETA, many of the agreements being developed that are going before the El Paso County Commissioners Court and ETA Board of Directors have kind of resulted in potential of conflict of interest issues. And there's also a need that within El Paso County to firewall the attorneys within the county when it comes to reviewing matters for ETA's benefit and then matters for the county's benefit. It also has resulted in the inclusion of board member Joel Bishop in the process of reviewing contracts from the county's interest, and then the executive director from reviewing contracts from ETA's interest, even though both are employed by the county and report to the Commissioner's Court. So as a result of these conflicts that are, my packet really did not do well. I'm so sorry.
Sure.
No, the staff reports, when I put it in the system, didn't finish my typing. So no, I have it here.
Okay.
It's just the information is impartial, so I sincerely apologize. But it is recommended that the board authorize the continued use of Kemp Smith during the transition period of fiscal year 2026 and re-procure the legal services contract in fiscal year 2027 as we embark becoming our own independent agency. So that you're aware from a cost consideration, the cost of utilizing Kemp Smith is $230 for the partner, $175 for associate attorneys, and $100 for the paralegals and the legal assistants. When you compare that to the county's cost, is $150 for the senior trial attorney, $200 an hour for the principal attorney, and $250 an hour for the division chief. So when you look at the cost comparison, it's really negligible. The El Paso County Commissioners Court has taken action to terminate the relationship with ETA, which I did forward a letter to the board yesterday night. And so I'm asking for the board to authorize continuation with Kemp Smith, and that we work cooperatively with El Paso County attorneys on the transition of items that they're doing over to Kemp Smith to represent ETA's interests. I believe Nicholas may be on the line, that if he had a few words to say from Kemp Smith, who would be the attorney representing ETA, is present.
Let me see.
Then he might try to.
He's not on the call.
He's not on call. Okay. I know he said he had deposition hearings that he had to attend. However, I am happy to answer any questions that you may have. I also have Michelle Martinez and Erica from the county attorney's office to answer any questions that you may have of them as well.
Well, I just had a comment, and I wanted to say thanks to Erica and Michelle for working with us the past 8 or so months on this transition. I view it as growing pains. I think that we're all, navigating this transition between the county and ETA, figuring out where some of those pressure points are along the way. And so I just want to make sure it's clear that the county attorney's office has been extremely supportive and helpful as we go through these processes. I think it's just, becoming apparent that there's, I don't even want to say a conflict of interest, really, but just 2 different sides that need to be really considered whenever we're dealing with ETA's transition. And so we want to be mindful of that and make sure that we're not causing undue stress. So thank you very much for your support and your help.
Chair and members of the board, Erica Rosales-Magaglio, and Assistant County Attorney. We want ETA to have the representation that you all need independent of the county, right? And so we are completely supportive of the idea and having Kemp Smith. We had conversations with Nick. We think he's well suited. He also served as the MPO. He got clearance from them to be able to also serve as EPADS. And we also had that recommendation from Sergio that he believed that Nick could handle, working with the board, helping out Mr. Ando. And so we're completely supportive. We're still going to be on the county side. We're still going to be a resource to Mr. Ando and to the board as well. So thank you.
And if I could just make a comment, Michelle Martinez, Assistant County Attorney. I also wanted to let you all know that as far as the transition goes, I know that we're transitioning through December 21st, but I will be out on medical leave starting October the 20th. So it will be Erica handling most of that, the back end of the transition. So just so that you're all aware, so that you have a little patience with our office during this time.
This is your last meeting with us?
It is my last meeting with you.
Oh, thank you for everything, Michelle.
Thank you for what you've done.
Yeah, I also wanted to thank Eric and Michelle, and I've worked with you a lot over the last few months. You've been really great helping. There's 2 hats that I've had to wear, as John mentioned, and you've done a great job. I totally understand and support this idea, but it's been a huge help to me. Always very professional and incredibly knowledgeable. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I'll ask Nicholas to attend the next board meeting so the board can meet Nicholas and be familiar with him as our counsel.
This is not posted for action, or do we need to vote on
Let me
this?
see.
It isn't posted, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, no, this isn't posted for action, so.
Just one direction that the board supports the direction that we're going in relation to the county's concerns.
Does anybody have any issues with that? Thank you.
So there'll be no action on agenda item 6E. We'll move on to 6F. And this is to review and adopt a code of conduct for El Paso Transportation Authority Services. Brandon.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. I'm requesting that the board of directors review and adopt a code of conduct policy for the El Paso Transportation Authority Services. The purpose of this code of conduct, FTA does encourage transit agencies to adopt written policies to ensure consistent application of disciplinary actions and provide passengers a specific process which they can appeal disciplinary actions. Many transit agencies across the country are starting to adopt what are called codes of conducts. Unfortunately, as you know, since the pandemic, the world has gotten a bit aggressive, and our poor drivers are having to sometimes deal with the aggression of passengers. And it can be as petty as not wanting to pay the fare. So this code of conduct will basically tell our passengers that these are the rules to ride ETA services. Should you choose to not comply with such rules, then you can face the potential of being suspended from riding ETA services. And then we have a suspension of service policy, which will guide us on how we would review appeals, working in conjunction with ETA staff as well as TransDev, documenting the suspension process, notifying the drivers of a person being suspended. And then if we find that the suspension was unwarranted, the appeals committee would basically be the determining factor, basically releasing that suspension. These actions will be done in coordination with the attorney's office. And those steps are laid out in the proposed suspension of service policy. And then we will also notify the public of the proposed rules so that they're aware of what these rules are. We'll also post them on the website. When we were drafting this code of conduct, we did look at other transit agencies across the state that have similar code of conduct, such as Sun Metro, Cap Metro, DART, to help us in putting this together, as well as the suspension of service policy. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Can you expand on the review committee or committee?
Yeah, so we are proposing that we would have a committee that will be facilitated by the transit planner of 3 individuals that would basically, if someone wanted to appeal a suspension, they would send correspondence. I would be the one that makes the suspension. They'll send correspondence to the transit planner. Transit planner would then convene the committee of 3 people, which will more likely be a combination of the transit planner plus staff from TransDev. They would review the appeal letter, and then basically render a decision. We would invite the person to come and tell their side of the story. We may use video footage or what other evidence necessary, and then let that appeal committee make that decision. And then their decision would be.
And the people on the appeal committee wouldn't be part of the process to initiate the suspension?
That is correct. So we want to keep those 2 completely isolated so that the people who are on the appeals committee are looking at this information with fresh eyes and have no idea of why the person was suspended.
So you said the first call to suspend would be you, Mr. Ando?
So yeah, it would come, basically the information would come to me from TransDev and the transit planner on this person needs to be suspended. I review it, and if I agree with their findings, I would suspend it. If not, then I'd work with TransDev and the transit planner, which assists us to come up with a plan on why this person should be suspended.
Question is, would this also apply federal program, the
Right now, solely just for the ETA services, yeah. Enterprise does have its own processes for their passengers, as well as New Mexico Department of Transportation.
Other questions? Michelle Martinez, Assistant County Attorney. Mr. Ando, did you indicate that you wanted legal review on the code of conduct? Did I hear you right?
No, I'm saying that we've basically said on any of the suspensions, we would include the attorney's office before initiating the suspension so that the attorney's office can review and make sure that we're not doing anything in violation of Texas laws or like FTA procedures, like in our Title VI considerations. So there are mentions of the attorney being involved in the suspension and the appeals process.
Okay, I just wanted to, otherwise I was going to recommend a motion to include that, but it's not. Thank you.
A quick question. So again, you said the panel would consist of staff, right?
It'll consist of staff, yes. Staff that have not been a party to making the recommendation of the appeal. I'm sorry, of the suspension.
So keeping the process administrative hours.
Yes.
So should they have any, in other words, if they want to appeal that, the staff division, would that go a order to the commissioners or something like that?
No, basically we were just basically leaving it at the staff level. Now, nothing doesn't prohibit a person from sending a letter to the chair of ETA and then asking for the board of directors to hear the issue if they're not supportive of the appeals committee's decision. Basically, we were leaving it at the appeals committee.
The reason I'm asking, John, is because typically, from what I've seen, like every time you have an administrative review, there's typically some means for them to go kind of higher to like the governing body.
And it's interesting to bring that up because from looking at DART's policy and Cap Metra's policy particularly, they basically left it at the appeals committee. They didn't even include the board of directors. However, I am happy to add language to this policy that should that person not be satisfied with the appeal committee's recommendation or the appeal committee's decision, that they can go one step higher and submit a letter to the chair of the board of directors.
No, I mean, I'm not suggesting that. All I'm saying is like maybe we need to check to see if we're not, providing full due process to folks if we're only keeping it administrative.
I see. Would you like me to perhaps add basically kind of like Michelle was proposing, like add legal review and see if they could look at the due process approach to this? Would that be?
The concern is not to have staff review it, then I would recommend not having two layers, but just have it go straight to the board or the executive committee. That way you don't, this isn't rocket science, you hate to say it that way, but I don't think you need more than one appeal.
I agree. Hopefully this is a very extremely rare.
We're hoping that it'd be extremely rare, but
at least it adds a layer of protection for the driver. At least, there's safety, there's consequences for the rider. So that's something that we want to provide to operators. So that will help.
And that could be also very touchy because theoretically the public has an option to come to the board and under public information, bring a concern or anything. The board would have to decide whether it wants to take action on it or whether it simply says it's sending it back to the system the process that's in place. Those can get a little touchy sometimes. Getting the board involved in operational things like that, can be a little difficult.
Sure, if I just can make a comment and just kind of thinking about it on a citywide level, kind of comparing it to residents and a citywide. Just having some experience in that, sometimes the community feel that if they come to the board or they come to the council or to the mayor, they're gonna, whatever decision administratively was done, it's gonna be overridden. So I think that if there's a policy and there's parameters that the staff is gonna have to make this type of decisions, that it probably stops there. I understand that there's the knowledge that, okay, if I don't like this, I can have probably another step here, but putting it in the policy, I believe it also might complicate it a little bit more. And it will also complicate it for us because we respond, or our intention is to serve the public. So we might feel that, maybe their decision is not the best and this just override. Yeah, understood.
Yeah, and again, I'm not suggesting that we add layers. I just wanted to make sure that if we do it this process, that they're getting due process. That's
Yeah.
Do you have, so we have the advantage of having video cameras in the bus, and you have those. So I think generally the appeal is just to make sure the established process was followed. And it really can be done at a sub-board level, just so long as it was followed. You're basically applying the policy. You have the evidence, so as long as the process was followed.
Shadow still needs to review everything in order to whether say he or she is going to be suspended or not. So it's operational.
Yes.
That makes sense.
So would we like the county attorneys to review for due process concerns?
We're happy to do it.
Can we approve it pending that review?
Yeah.
And I will make a motion to approve pending review.
Now, let me just ask, will this be something that your office, that county attorneys will do, or do you think you'll forward this to Ken Smith?
No, I think unless you disagree.
No, I think this is one that we can handle, and then we can go over our priority list again, so that this one goes to the top.
Okay.
Your motion.
I second.
I made the motion. Okay, I'm sorry, Commissioner, you made the motion. Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Butler, second from Mr. Kennedy. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion will carry. All right, so this will take us to 6G. This is to review and adopt an operating and capital budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026. It's a long time coming, right, Mr. Ando? Yes.
It is, yes. Is Christine from TTI? Christine?
Yes,
I'm here.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. I may call upon you to help, but thank you. So, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, I'm happy to present to you a draft operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2026, beginning October 1, 2025, ending September 30th, 2026. And basically, this operating and capital budget will basically set the framework for how we would expend the funds for, and recognize this is a two-tiered budget. Since the grants are being held by El Paso County, but the local match is coming from the member entities. So it's basically done in reconciliation with the TxDOT grants. And we did this in coordination with the finance plan that the board reviewed and adopted last month, as well as in conjunction with the county auditor's office to ensure that everything, as well as the county's budget office, to make sure everything lined up ultimately and makes financial sense for all parties. So to kind of summarize this budget, our proposed goals for ETA as part of this budget is to provide safe public transit services, provide public transit services to essential areas at essential times, provide high quality transit service, provide effective public transit service, provide cost efficient services, and then transition transit operations from El Paso County to ETA. This budget was done in accordance with the finance plan that the board adopted last month and done in conjunction with A&M Texas Transportation Institute so that this budget can kind of act as our financial plan. We also aligned this budget with the county's financial system, which does a one-year budget cycle. One thing that was noted by the auditor's office, in order to ensure that all of the county's transit grants are matched appropriately, we do need to ensure that we have $1,129,375 in local match funds to ensure that the county's grants for transit, is appropriately matched. And coupled with the member contributions identified by TTI in the fund balance, we'll have that amount available to match those county grants. We are projecting that we would operate approximately 64,649 revenue vehicle service hours between fixed route and paratransit. There is a 10% contingency that has been included in the budget for like just any hours that the fixed route transit system may operate beyond the projected service hours. We plan to operate 6 fixed routes, 10, 20, 30, 31, 40, and 50, serving all of the communities that are participating members on this board. We would also continue to operate paratransit service known as ETA Access, which would operate within a 3/4 mile radius of all ETA Paseo fixed routes in 3 separate zones during ETA Paseo's fixed routes, as well as continue the premium service throughout the entire city of El Paso. Also utilizing the revenue vehicle service hours within the complementary paratransit service, we'd launch ETA Underlay microtransit services in the South County, serving the city of San Elizario and the town of Clint with connections to the city of Socorro and the Mission Valley Transit Center, as well as the El Paso Community College Mission Del Paso campus, 7 days a week during paratransit service hours. We would also continue on mobility-based programs, which includes the ETA's Vominos program, subsidizing van pools at $500 per month per van, utilizing congestion mitigation, air quality, CMAQ grant funds, plus the local match solely coming from El Paso County. We'll continue the New Mexico Park and Ride Express Gold Route between El Paso, Anthony, Texas, and Las Cruces, New Mexico, utilizing funds from both the New Mexico and Texas Department of Transportation. And El Paso County, through ETA, is acting as the pass-through of those TxDOT funds to leveraging the New Mexico Department of Transportation funds. Also, as part of the budget and adding 4 additional staff to provide the additional capacity to ETA, we would start a new mobility management program through the hiring of a human services transportation planning coordinator in January of 26 that would act as ETA's mobility manager and help like train passengers on how to use ETA services, manage discount fare programs, coordinate ADA certifications with TransDev, and be responsible for marketing and customer services. That position will report to Rena, who is our associate transportation planner. We would also continue our studies with TTI regarding general public dial-a-ride service, a volunteer transportation program, partnerships with the RMA about bike share, adding additional ETA Paseo fixed routes that we discussed last month at the board meeting in other areas of the county, and use those studies as recommendations to consider for in developing the fiscal year 27 financial plan and operating budget. Additionally, we've engaged TTI to develop new performance measures that the board will be able to consider adoption, which can allow us in being able to better monitor the performance of ETA transit services and ensure that we're operating ETA transit services in the most efficient manner, utilizing grant and local match dollars efficiently. We are proposing a budget of $9,896,226 on the operations side. Majority of this is going to be basically paying TransDev and taking into consideration their new contract, which we anticipate should take effect starting in November of 2025. We did get approval from TransDev on the draft contract, so that is now with the county attorney's office being reviewed, both from the ETA's perspective as well as from the El Paso County's perspective. Also, as part of that contract, it should be noted that we did take into consideration their monthly fixed cost of about $153,814 and a variable rate of $57.10 per hour for the fixed route and $52.53 for the paratransit starting in fiscal year 2026. And then it would increase approximately 5% for the next 5 years. The new contract also will take into consideration with TransDev shifting the responsibility of the lease for the Sun Metro maintenance facility over to ETA and the county, shifting the responsibility for providing the paratransit and other transit technology software, fuel, utilities, and facility maintenance to ETA and El Paso County, and we're at a lower cost with no taxes being charged on the fuel perspective. We did also include the provision of maintenance support of ETA's administrative vehicles that are owned by El Paso County, and then that transit will provide for 2 trucks, 1 car, and 1 minivan, in addition to the 3 support vehicles that we would be providing. And then within their budget, they would add an additional road supervisor and utility workers. The budget also takes into consideration the reclassification of 1 vacant position, the senior transit project manager, and the addition of 3 new positions, which would be an accounting office manager, the human services transportation planning coordinator, the grant and contract compliance specialist, and a contract coordinator to ensure that we have the additional capacity to be able to manage FTA grants, both coming from the TxDOT side and both coming from the directly from FTA through Sun Metro's concurrence, and ensure that we're effectively overseeing transit programs. Our budget will take into consideration those items that we're taking out of the TransDev contract and directly being responsible for, such as a lease of the maintenance space from Sun Metro, transit technology, fuel, utilities, facility maintenance, and then working with El Paso County, developing a master agreement that we potentially could receive support services from the auditor's office, the attorney's office, communications, county administration, fleet, facilities for our office space, human resources by providing the 5 to 8 transit position support, information technology for providing computers, email support, and purchasing. And I preface this because, as you know, ETA is basically 2 in 1 right now. We're basically operating as county transit, but we're also serving the local government corporation. So the county is wanting to ensure that by providing services to the county's transit program, that those costs are being attributed to those departments that I mentioned, where we're getting those support services. Fiscal year 27, that master agreement may look different depending on how much of those department supports ETA envisions utilizing from El Paso County when ETA ultimately is receiving the grant funds directly from FTA and from TxDOT. So we'll have 1 master agreement that utilizes services for this fiscal year, but I envision that there'll be a different master agreement in fiscal year 27 for services that we would still need from the county, potentially in the areas of human resources, information technology, and are the 2 key areas that we would be needing services from. We envision that the master agreement would replicate similar agreements between the City of El Paso and the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority, as well as the City of El Paso and the El Paso MPO, where staff are employees of the City of El Paso, but the staff is not accountable to the City of El Paso. They're accountable to their respective boards, and that the city provides administrative support services to facilitate those staff positions being employees of the city. On the operational revenue side, 19% of the budget is coming from match revenues. It also includes the $5,000 contribution from the City of Socorro for access to the ETA transit system. It also taken into consideration the fund balance from prior fiscal years to ensure that the county's request of 1.1 million of match is being available for the grants that are supporting the transit system. 56.25% is coming from federal transit administration funds that are passed through TxDOT through various activity line item codes. Generally, we match at a 50% federal share with a 50% local match, net fares collected. However, we also use what is called the capital cost of contracting, which provides a favorable matching ratio for the utilization of the TransDev operations contract. TxDOT also passes through funding to support the New Mexico Park and Ride Express through what is called Section 5311F funds. And then we also receive CMAQ funds to support the van flow program, also utilizing the capital cost of contracting method. We're projecting fares to be 3% of our budget, $322,000. That takes into consideration increased passenger trips, as well as a new fare policy that will be presented to the board for consideration by the board, mimicking the Sun Metro's fare policy, so that we could be compliant to utilize 5307 funds in fiscal year 27. New Mexico Department of Transportation operating funds provides about 10% of the budget, which is basically pass-through funds to operate the New Mexico Park and Ride Express service to Las Cruces, New Mexico. The state of Texas through TxDOT grants are about 10% of a budget, or 1 million, which they provide to rural transit districts, which can be used to match federal grants. Generally, a lot of that fund, most of those funds are used to cover ETA administrative costs and ETA staff. And then miscellaneous revenues, these are revenues that I would like the board to consider, which we could bring back before at a future meeting, which can include pursuits of other grant opportunities that are available to ETA, potential advertising on buses, should the board approve, travel reimbursements through the Rural Transit Assistance Program, sale of assets. We're in the process of surplusing 13 vehicles, doing any charter services that are in accordance with FTA rules and with TxDOT's concurrence, investment income, and other miscellaneous revenues that we may generate. It is staff's desire to keep member agencies' contributions at the levels that we're at today, plus consumer price index, that we pursue all available transit-only funding that is available to us. 5307, 5310, 5311, 5311F, 5311B, 5339A, B, and C, various TxDOT, FDA, and USDOT discretionary grants, TxDOT state rural grants to the extent that ETA could, and then Rural Transit Assistance Program for training and scholarships. As you're aware, fiscal year 26 is going to be a transitional year for us. 96% of our service does operate in the urbanized area. So we do need to pursue the use of 5307, 5310, and 5339A funding from the El Paso urbanized area. That means our 5311 funding is likely to drop from TxDOT, and the matching ratio for these various funding programs will change. Texas Transportation Institute will be working with us on developing what would be a reasonable amount of funds that we should be receiving from the El Paso urbanized area, and working in conjunction with Sun Metro to determine that process. Also, the board should be mindful that as part of the proposed fiscal year 26 interlocal agreement with El Paso County, they would like to use 1.5 million of in-kind match revenue through the land acquisition that's being conducted to build a future transit operations facility in unincorporated El Paso County. So that 1.5 million of in-kind match revenue would basically act as El Paso County's contribution to FTA grants and to TxDOT grants for the foreseeable future, which would satisfy El Paso's contribution until fully exhausted. This would allow us to get a full drawdown of federal funds. And then we would also pursue the use of what is called transportation development credits, also known as toll credits or TDCs, as part of local matching. Of course, use of that in-kind match contribution that El Paso County is proposing will be predicated on approvals by TxDOT and FTA prior to its implementation. On the capital side, we are proposing a budget of 8.3 million. These projects do include 3 Glavel CNG buses, 4 Type 3 Glavel Universal CNG buses, 4 battery electric vehicles, plus 4 chargers that would be constructed at Sun Metro's West Side Transit Center with fencing, design and engineering for the transit facility by the RMA, passenger shelters, design and installation by the RMA, land acquisition for the transit facility by El Paso County, the purchase of the GenFair vault by El Paso County. It's not shown in the budget because it is a fiscal year 25 expense in the amount of $145,000. I do want to preface that I did bring this matter before the board last month, asking authorization to purchase this vault should we not be able to find funding within El Paso County. Thanks to staff's help, Bianca, Brenda, and Jesus, we were able to identify $145,000 within the county's budget. So EPATS is not impacted by the purchase of this vault. And then continuation of services from the Texas Transportation Institute for task orders 9, 10, and then amendment 1 to the fiscal year 26 financial plan for projects that they'll continue to pursue for us next fiscal year. Many of the capital projects are funded through FTA Section 5311 and 5339 funds through TxDOT, as well as TxDOT state grants or El Paso County's general fund. Capital expenses generally have an 80% federal share with a 20% local match. Should also be noted, as Mr. Gonzalez mentioned, that TxDOT in fiscal year 25 applied for a 5339B bus and bus facilities grant, provided state funds to construct a new operations and maintenance facility for ETA. Should this grant be successful, we would come back before the board upon execution of any necessary agreements with TxDOT on amending the budget to include the funds for that project. And that will both be presented to the ETA Board of Directors and the El Paso County Commissioners Court. And then as other grants are awarded, we'll return to the board for a budget amendment to include their revenues and expenses in the budget for the applicable fiscal year. Should be noted that we will pursue 5310 funding in fiscal year 27 from TxDOT and El Paso Metropolitan Planning Organization for future transit bus replacements and operational needs to support seniors and persons with disabilities transportation. It should be noted that with the fleet that we discussed at the last Board of Directors meeting, our fleet, once everything has come in, will be 2021 or newer. And by the end of 2026, we'll have vehicles that would be under 7 years or 200,000 miles. So it'll be a while before we'll need to come before this board to ask for any capital replacement. So that's another attributable success to the team for being able to be mindful of our fleet replacements so that we don't have this upfront of local matching that we would need to do to replace our fleet. So we're going to be looking healthy as we transition into fiscal year 27 with ETA taking on the responsibilities of transit. Also, as part of our efforts, we'll be developing a transit development plan that will be submitted to Sun Metro, which will be our long-range operational capital and financial plan that the board will need to consider to understand future fiscal impacts for future local match requirements to the member agencies. This plan will also be submitted to the MPO for inclusion into the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, the federal and state transportation improvement program. We've had a series of accomplishments and achievements, and I did list that on page 108 of our board packet. One thing to be mindful that I would like this board to just be made aware as we go into this budget is that our costs are going to continue to increase. And while we did reduce local match revenues because we're using fund balance, and there are concerns from member agencies about a significant hit of local match revenues to increase to the levels of fiscal year 2024. It'll be staff will be very prudent to find creative ways to try to keep the line on member agency contributions to match CPI as we go into future fiscal years. We're also going to be transitioning funding sources between 5311 to 5307. So that's going to change our overall financial picture. And then I just ask that this board continue to review our financial picture annually, as well as service levels, ensuring that we're running the right level of services in accordance with the available funding that we have to provide transit services in El Paso County outside of the city limits. Unmet needs that the board should be mindful as we go into the future. The board did direct staff to continue to pursue expansion, which may include the addition of 4 additional fixed routes, a corresponding general public dial ride service, and associated complementary paratransit service to those 4 fixed routes. Those changes will add additional revenue vehicle service hours to the transit system, resulting in additional federal funding and local matching funding to support those services. Jurisdictions that may be impacted by any expansion will primarily be El Paso County, since most of the services are in the unincorporated area, but there may be minor impacts to Anthony, Vinton, San Elizario, and Clint. City of Socorro does operate their own microtransit service utilizing their own funding, but there could be a desire of Socorro to pursue federal funding from the El Paso urbanized area and or contract with ETA to provide its microtransit service. Further, to note, the town of Horizon City is undertaking a transit-oriented development project with a new town hall, parks, housing development, and a transit plaza, which ETA would serve. And then on behalf of the city could operate circulator services within the town. While these unmet transit needs are unfunded today, they would need to be incorporated into a future financial plan with direction from the board and the partners on how to implement these unmet needs. Into the future, as I stated, we will need to consider a transit development plan to act as our business plan for the next 5 years, continue to strive to increase our passenger trips, and then ensure that we have a financial plan that's sustainable to allow us to efficiently operate public transit services in El Paso County. We believe that this budget reflects the current direction of the board over the past year, is balanced, reasonable, and sustainable. As additional funding commitments are secure, staff will work with the board to make necessary amendments and ensure that the budget remains fiscally sustainable. I do recommend that the board approve the proposed budget for fiscal year 26 for ETA. That budget is shown on pages 112 and 113 of the board packet. And I'm happy to answer any questions, as well as Christine from TTI, if there are any.
Can I make a clarification? Yes. It's not 4 chargers that we're gonna put for the EV. It's 5 level 2 and 2 fast chargers. So we'll have a total of 7 chargers.
So that's 7 chargers.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No worries.
I didn't want to. We'll be over there installing 7. He's like, John said 4. So want to put it out there.
That's a very thorough budget overview. Thank you very much, Mr. Ando.
Yes.
Okay. I think we all appreciate having you walk us through the operations and the capital expenses. Anybody have any questions on the budget?
Not a question, but a comment. I think the exhaustive work that has been done on the budget is to be complimented to John, because as you know, we didn't have a comprehensive budget, not had one before, and this is taking us from 0 to 100 in 1 year. So congratulations. Good work.
I mean, I'm definitely going to have done it without the help of Bianca, Sue, Sabrina, and TTI too, because this is we're in a complex situation right now with the county holding on to the grant funds, but we're providing the local match and having to reconcile everything together. And we did it in short order, so I'm very impressed with the team on making this happen.
You made this very complex budget very easy to understand and digest. So thank you to you and the team. I don't know, Annette, if we would have ever been able to do this on our own.
We should try,
right?
Should try.
Yeah,
What is it? A good old sophomore try? It's not to be.
So I just wanna point out, right, the operating revenues, and what I think is the heart of ETA, and the reason that we're all here is the contributions from our board members and their the cities and municipalities that they represent. This represents the fiscal year 2026 contributions that we're requesting. City of Anthony, 14,800. The City of Clint, 6,900. The City of Horizon, 61,000. City of San Elizario, 20,100. Village of Vinton, 13,400. El Paso County's contribution, $861,100. And with the City of Socorro's $5,000 contribution towards access to ETA transit services. So I just point that out to show that this is a team effort, and is really why ETA exists, to be able to leverage all of the funding as much as we can to bring more and more services to the county as a whole. I will make a motion to approve this budget. Thank you very much, Ms. Mendo, and your team.
I'll second. And I also want to make a quick comment. I've worked a lot with John offline, and just to reiterate what Javier said, and just from my perspective, he is really focused on where he can making the budget efficient, effective, and making sure we aren't spending in any unnecessary areas. And I really appreciate that attention to detail. And it's been really good to see that his expertise is really shining. From my perspective, appreciate it, John. Thank you for your work on this and your team, Reina, and everybody else who's worked so hard on this with you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion from Commissioner Butler and a second from Mr. Bishop. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. This will take us now to agenda item 6H. This is a discussion regarding El Paso Transportation Authority routes and services by Mr. Ando.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. This is just more of an informational item. When I did my one-on-ones with the various board members, there were questions about what does ETA do? What type of services does ETA provide? How many people are utilizing ETA services from my jurisdiction? And how does ETA provide value to my jurisdiction? So I just wanted to just go through each of these schedules and maps just to give a perspective of what ETA does. I do want to preface that we are working on gathering data by jurisdiction so that we can provide information to each of the jurisdictions on how the services that ETA is providing is benefiting each jurisdiction. We have the data available from TransDev on ETA Access. So I'll be compiling that information and sending those to each of the board members so that they can review, and I'll be available to answer questions. We are going to have to do a fixed route sampling survey where we would basically have the drivers track where people are boarding the buses for a 1 week period. And then we would basically use that as a basis to give each jurisdiction a perspective of these are how many people are boarding within your jurisdiction on a percentage basis for each route. It is very difficult to kind of track boardings based on residency. So this is kind of the best way that we can give a sampling. And we could, once we do this sampling, we could do a similar sampling, one in the fall, one in the spring, every year, just so the member agencies kind of has an understanding on the value that the residents are bringing by utilizing these ETA services. In addition, I've also attached reports from the National Transit Database for fiscal year 23, as well as for fiscal year 24 from the Texas Transportation Dashboard, so that you can read that at your leisure to understand how does ETA perform based on the services that are being provided. So presently, as of September of 2025, we have 4 different services. We have the ETA Paseo, which is our fixed route system, ETA Access, which is our paratransit system, Vámonos, which is the van pool program, and then the New Mexico Park and Ride, which is the commuter service. On page 120 of your board packet is a system map that shows all of the ETA routes in perspective with the El Paso urbanized area. And as you know, we have routes in the north, then we have routes in the east, and then we have most of our routes operating in the south. We operate 6 fixed routes. On page 121 of the packet is the ETA Access service area, where we basically serve a 3/4 mile radius of all of the ETA routes that are in operation. And then we have a premium service that basically operates within the city of El Paso, where we will take people from the ETA service area to and from the city of El Paso. And through an interlocal agreement, they also do the reverse, where they bring residents from the city of El Paso into the ETA service area. Page 122 of your packet is Route 10, which is a fixed route that operates Monday through Saturday. That basically serves the town of Anthony and the village of Benton. And then it terminates at the Sun Metro West Side Transit Center. Then we have Route 20, which services the unincorporated area, particularly Homestead Estates and Homestead Meadows, thank you. Homestead Meadows and the Monta Vista area. That route originates at the Sun Metro Upper East Side Transit Center and works its way east. That service operates Monday through Sunday. and basically 7 days a week. Page 124 of the package shows Route 30, which basically operates from the Mission Valley Transit Center through the city of Socorro to the town of Horizon City. That service operates also 7 days a week. On to page 125 is Route 31. This route basically starts at the Mission Valley Transit Center, travels to the El Paso Community College, and then works its way into East Lake, which is the unincorporated area of El Paso County, and then ultimately services Horizon City as well. This route operates 7 days a week. On to page 126 is Route 40, which basically starts at the Mission Valley Transit Center, travels down Alameda Avenue through the city of Socorro to Fabens and Tornillo in the unincorporated areas of El Paso County. This route also operates 7 days a week. And then our last fixed route is Route 50, which is also the Mission Trail fixed route, which starts at the Mission Valley Transit Center, travels down Socorro Road through the city of Socorro to the city of San Elizario and ends at the town of Plint. This route also operates 7 days a week. On to page 128 is our New Mexico Park and Ride Express Gold Route service. That route originates at downtown El Paso near the Downtown Transit Center, services the West Side Transit Center, then proceeds on to the town of Anthony and services the town of Anthony, and then it proceeds into Las Cruces, New Mexico, serving New Mexico State University and the Roadrunner Transit Systems Transit Center at Mesilla, I believe, Valley? Mesilla Valley Transit Center. That service operates Monday through Friday. Then we have the Vamonos van pool program that is done in partnership with Commute with Enterprise, and through El Paso County, we have an agreement with basically Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and they have approximately, I believe, 158 vans on the road servicing basically the urbanized area, as well as trips into the rural area. And we utilize, as I mentioned, the CMAQ funds and then county general fund to match that through the capital cost of contracting. And then on page 130 is our ETA access. Anna recently designed this brochure to make it simple for people who are interested in utilizing ETA access services. And this service is available to persons that have a disability that cannot ride traditional fixed route transit. It operates within a 3/4 mile radius of ETA's fixed routes. It also operates fully into the city of El Paso for people who want to do whatever trips necessary within the city of El Paso. And through our interlocal agreement, Sun Metro does it in the reverse. In order to utilize this service, a user has to fill out an application. Once that application is filled out, it does get submitted to TransDev, who TransDev has a third-party processor that reviews, determine eligibility, sends out the letter, and then they put that information into Trapeze, our current scheduling software, and then that person is instantly eligible to utilize ETA access. Pages 132 is the National Transit Database reporting to just give you efficiency data on how the transit system is performing. Presently, NTD is only showing data through fiscal year 23. However, once fiscal year 24's data is available, I'll share that with the board. And then pages 134 to 138 is the data that is presented by Texas Transportation Institute through the Texas Transportation Dashboard. And this is data that Rena, Jesus, and Bianca basically compiles through filling out various reports, PTN 128, thank you, to capture our system performance data. And then TxDOT puts this in a database that allows TxDOT to basically see how efficient all of our transit operations are doing in comparison with other transit operations within the state of Texas. So I'll let the board read that at their leisure. That concludes my report on ETA services, and I'm happy to answer any questions about ETA if there are any.
First, just a comment. Thank you so much. That's a lot of information. It's really helpful.
It is a lot. Thank you. I
Perfect for transit nerds if you want to spend your Saturday evening just digesting transit data.
I read all through what you wrote, John, and I thought it was amazing, to say the least. And the work that you guys have done, like truly extraordinary. Like I'm happy to be partnering with you and see ETA grow and expand and what the future may bring. So, like, congratulations to you, team.
Thank you.
It was a great, phenomenal report. Like my hats off to you.
I do think that requires.
And not everybody might know Anthony DeCasey is the
I'm sorry for not
executive director of.
Sorry for not introducing myself. I'm the director for Sun Metro.
We have a whole tracking system for all the projects that John has initiated with us at Sun Metro. So we have a whole portfolio just for
That's very impressive.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. Thank you, John.
So then this will now take us to 6I. And this is to receive a report from the executive director regarding El Paso Transportation Authority staff activities.
Yes, my report is basically on pages 139 through 142, but some just high level things just to keep the board apprised of what's going on. We are in the final stages of the TransDev agreement. That's with the county attorney's office. Once we get their concurrence, we'll be bringing that before this board for consideration in October, as well as the El Paso County Commissioner's Court to authorize execution of that respective agreement. As I mentioned, we'll be doing a data collection effort. I'm working with Rena on how we can do that effort and then give TransDev instruction on how we can collect that data so we can give the members that data that they've been looking for a while. We have completed our fleet reconciliation effort. We are going to have a fleet of 23 fixed route buses, 10 paratransit vehicles. That would increase to a fleet of 26 once we get the electric vehicles delivered. The electric vehicles will be primarily assigned to Route 10, which is serving the town of Anthony and the village of Vinton, since the chargers will be constructed at Sun Metro's West Side Transit Center. We continue to work with Sun Metro on a facility lease agreement. Hopefully we'll be seeing that soon. And then we'll be presenting that to the El Paso County Attorney and Ken Smith for their review for their respective parties. Just so the board's aware, we, as you know, we contracted with Sun Metro to operate Route 84. We have recently been working with them on reconciliation of some bills from fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 25. We're working with the county auditor's office on that reconciliation. And then we're also in discussions with TxDOT on the financial implications of that reconciliation. Once we have agreement, Sun Metro will be sending us invoices for payment for Route 84 and the paratransit trips associated with Route 84. There could be a potential $1 million impact. And we'll provide more details once we complete our reconciliation with Sun Metro and with the county's auditor's office, and then how we can basically cover that cost. We'll be 2 fiscal years past by the time this is finalized, and grants have already been closed out, and so we would need to identify a funding source for that. We're also in discussions with Sun Metro on an interagency transfer agreement so that ETA riders could ride Sun Metro routes and Sun Metro passengers can ride ETA routes, so we can have that seamless transit system that we're talking about. Anna is working on updating our marketing materials and has been providing a lot of marketing support to get ETA information out. If you guys are on our social media, I encourage you to check out our Facebook page, our X page, and our Instagram page. where she's been posting a lot of things about ETA and trying to engage people to follow ETA. I've been meeting with County Human Resources on discussions on how do we work on the transition that will be occurring, including how ETA staff could remain as county employees, but being accountable to the ETA board once the transition is fully complete. We did recently complete our employee evaluations. We did complete the inventory of ETA's assets, or excuse me, county assets assigned to the transit system, which will be basically used as developing a assets transfer agreement between the county ETA with TxDOT's concurrence, as well as what is called a transit asset management plan that would be required for us to get 5311 funds and 5307 funds. And then WETEP has recently kicked off the update to the regional plan, and myself and Brenna is participating in those efforts with Mr. Banyales, who's acting as chair of that effort with Project Amistad. The staff updates from Jesus, Brenna, Anna, and Bianca is also included in my report. And then lastly, I provided you a spreadsheet of ridership by routes and by month, so that you have an idea of how the transit system has been forming on a per passenger trip basis. And looks like we're going to end the fiscal year at 572,802 passenger trips, which is a slight increase over fiscal year 24. That concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Great work, your team. Thank you for the update.
Okay, this will take us to 6J. This is where we will receive a report on Transdev's operations for the month of August 2025 by Ms. Sylvia Balcazar.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to give you a slight report on our key metrics for the month of August. For the month of August, we had 0 preventable accidents and we had 0 non-preventable accidents. On our on-time performance for fixed route, we were at 93.6%. Our on-time performance for paratransit, we were at 95.9%. And our rides per hour for the paratransit was at 92. Our fixed route ridership was 9,359. And our paratransit ridership was at 546. Our ADA clients in our service area was 133 with 115 clients outside of our service area. That gave us a grand total of 148 clients for the ADA service. We had 0 roll calls and we had 26 PMs opened. We closed 26 PMs. That gave us 100% on preventable maintenance. And as far as our staff and drivers, we have 25 fixed route drivers, 6 paratransit drivers. We have 3 fixed route driver positions open with 2 paratransit. I think Jennifer is going to ask me for 3 paratransit driver position opening. And we expect to start our class on September 29th. And last but not least, just a little human resources and company events. On August 8th of 2025, 3 employees, including myself, celebrated 18 years of employment with First Transit, now Transdev. Myself as a general manager, Victor Padilla as my maintenance manager, and then we had 1 driver, bus operator, Mark Esparza. He was our employee of the month last month. The 3 of us started when First Transit came to El Paso to run the UTEP contract that was in 2007. In 2014, we were awarded the El Paso County Rural Transit contract, and in 2020, we were re-awarded the county contract, but we were not awarded the UTEP contract as the university decided to run their transportation in-house. And as you know, in 2025, we were also hopefully be awarded the ETA contract. These past 18 years have not been without struggles. There's been some struggles, but I always tell my employees, if you have a job where you wake up every morning and you're willing to give it 100% and you like what you're doing, then you know you're where you're supposed to be. And I think the three of us feel like we're where we're supposed to be. So that's all I have. Jennifer, do you have anything? Oh, and I do want to say that Jennifer, my operations manager in my place during the month of October, November, and December, I'll be out periodically for medical leave, and Jennifer will be taking my place to present these reports to the board.
Congratulations on 18 years.
Oh, thank you.
All right, then we'll move on to agenda item 6K. This is for a review long-range calendar of agenda items for El Paso Authority and El Paso Commissioners Board. Mr. Anderson.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. Just page 149 is just a list of all the upcoming items that we'll be bringing before this board for consideration, as well as items that will be taken to the El Paso County Commissioners Court. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Again, very thorough, very helpful. Appreciate the updates. Questions?
Our next agenda item will be to now go into executive session closed meeting. I'll read out the El Paso Transportation Services Local Government Corporation will retire into a closed meeting pursuant to the following Texas Government Code. Section 551.071, consultation with attorney. Section 551.072, deliberation regarding real property. Section 551.073, deliberation regarding prospective gifts. Should we just go ahead and just keep it one? Okay, sorry, I apologize. So we'll just keep it at section 551.071, consultation with attorney.
A motion.
A second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Butler. And was that second for Mr. Conde?
Yes.
To move into executive session at 3:41. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries.
We're back on.
Then we're in open session now, so we'll go on to agenda item 8.8. And this is to discuss and take appropriate action pertaining to the El Paso Area Transportation Services LGC participation in the El Paso Metropolitan Planning Organization and the MPO's proposed amendments to its bylaws. Brando?
Yes. Turn off to Michelle Martinez.
Michelle Martinez, City County Attorney on item 8.8, proposed no action.
No action. Our final item is to adjourn. Sure.
Okay, thank you everyone for your time. Thank you, Brando, and your team for a very comprehensive meeting agenda and content. We appreciate all the work you all are doing. Thank you again, Mr. Gonzalez, for joining us today. We hope you'll come back and be with us.
So this will be a motion from Commissioner Butler in a second.
Yes.
Second from Ms. Betty. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Get this on social media.